Hello Channel NITT viewers, I am DS, your psychologist, and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. This is a viewer request episode, so one of our viewers have requested us to do an episode on the differences between the INTJ and the ENTJ. So the INTJ and the ENTJ can really be very similar in a lot of ways. Why? This is because they have exactly the same cognitive functions, although in a different order. So this is the cognitive stack of the INTJ, and this is the cognitive stack of the ENTJ. Very similar, right? Since the INTJ and the ENTJ share the same 4 cognitive functions in almost the same order, firstly, both types enjoy intellectual stimulation a lot. So both the INTJ and the ENTJ are going to enjoy a very intellectual conversation. Secondly, both the INTJ and the ENTJ value efficiency a lot. And thirdly, both types may seem to be very cold and distant, but they can really form very meaningful friendships.
I'm just looking for some real friends.
Now, because the INTJ and the ENTJ are so similar, sometimes some people may be confused over how to distinguish between an INTJ and the ENTJ. Actually, it is so much more easy to distinguish between an INTJ and an ENTJ than an ESTJ and an ENTJ. Because these two types are very similar, some people may find it very hard to distinguish between the INTJ and the ENTJ. So this is what this episode is going to be about. Telling you the differences between the INTJ and the ENTJ from the cognitive functions point of view. The first difference between the INTJ and the ENTJ lies in their cognitive mechanism. So for the INTJ, they use NI as their dominant function and TE as their auxiliary function. For ENTJs, this is the opposite. The ENTJ use TE as their dominant function and NI as their auxiliary function. So what difference does this make? Because INTJ use NI as their dominant function, they prefer to imagine all sorts of possibilities. Because NI is the dominant function, they prefer to think along all different possible tracks that might happen in the future. It's like planning a chess move. They want to make sure that they are going to win in this chessboard game. So they imagine what they're going to do if they push this horse ahead, push this whatever, don't play chess, this chess piece ahead. Then they can also anticipate what you are going to do if you are the opponent. So this is also why the INTJ is known as the mastermind. So I know of an INTJ who intends to propose to a long-time girlfriend. So the INTJ is going to plan what he is going to do, where he is going to do, what to react when she says different things. Even though this is a long-time girlfriend, the INTJ will also incorporate the possibility that she will reject him while he proposes. So they think along all sorts of possibilities so that they can react to every different possibility. This is what the INTJ terms as efficiency. Of course, the proposal is a very major event for the INTJ, but the INTJ is very likely to also exercise this mechanism in very trivial things, such as whether to call you or not, or whether to text you or not. If something is very important and meaningful for the INTJ, like a friendship, they might engage in this mechanism. Think along all the lines where you decide to be angry with him.
Hold on to your lily white butts.
On the other hand, because the ENTJ is a TE dominant and an NI auxiliary user, they do not do this. So this is one very huge difference because of the different positions of the TE and NI. So the ENTJ might think of the different possibilities, but it is not as elaborate as the INTJ. So presume I have a girlfriend and she loves attention, then maybe I would want to propose to her in front of a crowd. But if she were an introvert, then I know that this will make her very uncomfortable. So I will plan a different location, a romantic occasion. We think along different lines, incorporating the other person's perspective and personality, but it is not going to be like, okay, So after the ENTJ has confirmed what he wants to do and what he has to do, he will just do it. Simple. Just do it. If he gets embarrassed, it's okay. So in a way, the ENTJ may not be 100% sure that you will accept the proposal. He might be 90% sure that you will accept, and that is good enough. So he does not have to think along all possible tracks on what would have happened in each of these possible tracks. So this is why the ENTJ is able to act much faster than the INTJ. Of course, from the INTJ point of view, this is not ideal because this is not efficient. What the ENTJ is doing is not efficient. But from the ENTJ's point of view, this is very efficient because there might be lost opportunities if you don't jump into the situation right away and just do it. A second difference between the INTJ and the ENTJ is in their appearance, and I attribute this to the position of SE in their cognitive stack. So for the INTJ, SE is in their inferior position. So the INTJ may tend to dress very modestly. They may prefer very non-bold colors. So you can usually see an INTJ wear very common colors like white, blue, black. On the other hand, SE, extroverted sensing, is in the third position for the ENTJ. So the ENTJ may be more attracted to colors. For you to understand this, you must imagine that SE is the inner child of the ENTJ. So it's like a 10-year-old boy or a 10-year-old girl wanting to dress up so they can go out and impress their friends. So the ENTJ is likely to have more vibrant colors, more cute designs. They are also going to be very outlandish sometimes in what they wear. And most of the time, you can expect individuality in their dressing. Okay, to continue with our discussion on the differences between the INTJ and the ENTJ, we now move on to the blind spot of the two MBTI types. For the INTJ, their blind spot is FE. So because FE is the blind spot for the INTJ is not very good with social human relationships. So many social relationships does give the INTJ stress. And unfortunately for the INTJ, because FE is their blind spot, they will not know if someone is angry or upset with them. So in a way, the INTJ can be a relationship moron. Definitely could be a love moron. Some INTJs may be so clueless about relationships that they indulge in very superficial relationships like anonymous sex, because they don't have to build a relationship if that is the case. So I do know of a few unhealthy INTJs who are like that. So the INTJ and the ENTJ both have a lot of social problems, but because FE is the blind spot of the INTJ, I would describe the INTJ as socially awkward. They just do not know what to do. However, for the ENTJ, they are not socially awkward. They are just aloof. This is because SI is their blind spot. They make friends very carefully. They are very selective and choosy. They are very hard to please in this regard. Actually, the INTJ is not that hard to please. They are just perceivers. They take a long time to decide. But the ENTJ decides immediately. You, not suitable to be my friend. Bye. So on the other hand, the ENTJ is a judger. It is very possible that the ENTJ has already decided, okay, I don't want to be your friend. So they have social problems because they are very aloof. Now back to the blind spot of the ENTJ. The ENTJ blind spot is SI. So in my case, SI is a very serious blind spot. This means that I seldom check my work. I am also not very good with research. So for example, if you enter an INTJ's and an ENTJ's room, it's very easy to recognize the ENTJ's room. It's rather messy. And because of SI blind spot, I do not check as well. I think personally, the ENTJ may be very bad at research. So prior to doing this episode itself, I would have assumed that a lot of other MBTI YouTubers would have done the differences between the INTJ and the ENTJ. But I did not bother to even look at one of them. I assume that what I'm doing now is unique. That's how an ENTJ is. Anyway, we're going to produce an episode on the ENTJ SI blind spot. Do watch out for that if you're interested. So another difference between the INTJ and the ENTJ is that the ENTJ is very much more likely to be animated. This is especially true when the ENTJ is with a group of friends that he's comfortable with and when he is really comfortable. So my viewers may have noticed that I laugh a lot or I suddenly have very weird reactions like yeah. Those are not acting, those are real, because ENTJs have SE as their third function, and SE is their inner child. And this inner child has a lot of childlike wonder.
Hello!
So we can get surprised by things that you find very mundane or normal. For the INTJ, they do not have this problem. The INTJ have SE as their inferior function. So the INTJ is a cool cat. When they open a puzzle, they will not like, wow, woo. Okay, now this is acting. A fifth difference between the INTJ and the ENTJ lies in what they do when they are stressed. Now for the INTJ, when they are stressed, they will engage NI or even SE even more. So when they engage SI more, they become more introverted. They might ghost you. When they are really overly stressed, they engage SE. This is when they might start to indulge in vices. So they will play video games much more. They spend the whole entire day doing something like that. So it is very possible that the INTJ may also indulge in other vices like alcohol and sex. So an unhealthy INTJ is very likely to develop depression. However, an unhealthy ENTJ is not like this, usually. So an unhealthy ENTJ might engage TE even more. A very unhealthy ENTJ can engage FI excessively. So when an ENTJ engages TE even more, they become very argumentative. They just want to win, they become very competitive. And a stressed ENTJ can become very mean and they can howl nasty words at you. Very bitchy words. So you can hear them say things like, "You are just a stupid piece of shit." Of course, a very healthy ENTJ does not do that. What happens when the ENTJ engages FI when they are stressed? They might start to go into very serious bouts of tantrums. They can throw tables, scream and yell.
I wanna scream and shout and let it all out.
This is very rarely what an INTJ would do. So if you want to know whether someone is an INTJ or an ENTJ, make them very stressed. Just joking. Well, before I conclude, another similarity between the INTJ and the ENTJ, is that both the INTJ and the ENTJ are likely to be more intelligent than the general population. So in one of our upcoming episodes, we are going to have a scientific explanation why the INTJ and the ENTJ are more intelligent than the general population. Really? Yes. So I hope you have learned something about the INTJ and the ENTJ from this episode. And if you have not subscribed, do consider subscribing so that we can give you more INTJ, ENTJ and MBTI. Okay, I'm going to sign off now and I'll see you in my next episode. Goodbye!